Hey, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. This is Dr. Eunice. I am going to be talking about another disorder today, which is called catatonia. So, catatonia is actually is a neuropsychiatric syndrome, which is characterized by a range of motor disturbances that can include, and the list is below. It can include things like stereotypy. Stereotypy is what is going to be, if you see somebody that has is showing repetitive, non-goal oriented movements or behavior, which often have a little bit of variation. So someone that is repeatedly tapping their fingers, rocking back and forth, or maybe they're twirling their hair in a repetitive or ritualistic movement. That would be what we are calling the stereotypy, however you want to say it. The next, the other motor disturbance would be something like echopraxia. So echopraxia is the automatic limitation of movements that individuals make. So imagine someone that is mimicking the gestures or movements of those around them. Maybe something like clapping, clapping when others clap and they don't know the reason why they're clapping, or they see someone waving and then they just start to wave. Of course, that is, they're not waving because they know that person, or they're not waving because they are required to wave to that person. They don't know them. They just did it because someone else is doing it. So someone around them is doing it. So the other one would include catalepsy. So catalepsy is a condition where an individual maintains a rigid posture. So picture someone that is showing or demonstrating a very rigid posture, and for a very extended period, even when it is uncomfortable to them or it's not even practical. We've seen some people that have done movements, and you're wondering whether they're still alive or dead, that kind of a thing. Someone might hold their arm outstretched in a very fixed position, and they resist efforts to move it or change their position. So they look kind of like they're statue, or they're frozen in one place. Okay? So the other next one we would be seeing in somebody who has catatonia is posturing. So posturing is definitely different from catalepsy, because posturing is assuming and maintaining a bizarre or unusual body position. So someone might hold their limbs in awkward or unusual position. They can start on their tiptoes, maybe outstretch their arms and assume like they're doing yoga. But this is not something that would look this to a normal person, or to somebody who does not have the posturing. They would actually feel pain. So it's because it's it's extended position. Like, how do you hold your breath for such amount of time? So that's somebody who does have, that would be considered catatonia. And so another characteristic would be waxy flexibility. Somebody that is, an individual's limbs, that can be or could be manipulated and positioned by another person. So this is somebody else doing it. Like maybe you go to a chiropractor and they can actually, move your limbs in a waxy way, bend your limbs to where they actually look like they're completely flexible, and they they develop that wax figure, flexible wax. Imagine a wax that's dry, that is being tried to be manipulated. So the waxy flexibility allows your limbs to be moved into various positions, and that position is not for a short time. It really an extended period, but that person that is, whoever or the patient is not resisting because it's comfortable for them. It would be uncomfortable for me. And the next one is mannerism. So somebody might have exaggerated or unusual movements or gestures that may have maybe symbolic meaning to another. To them is a symbol of I am respecting you, like bowing. They might be, squatting or maybe kneeling. That to them is a sign, it symbolizes mannerism. So somebody who is repeatedly touching their face, making unusual hand gestures, or adopting a distinctive walk or posture that might seem out of context. That is the mannerism. So agitation involves restlessness or excessive motor activity. It is accompanied by feelings of tension or even anxiety. Sometimes one might pace back and forth, fidget. There are people that like to fidget. Not necessarily because they have catatonia, but if it's, something that is continuous, it's repeatedly done, and somebody is unable to control or sit still, you can see that this person is really agitated, is anxious, is in distress, and, they are pacing back and forth. They are fidgeting because it's uncomfortable for them and they have no way of controlling it. So that could be under catatonia. So the other one is grimacing. Grimacing is going to involve contorted facial expressions. I have facial expressions that my kids always tell me, Mom, you're frowning too much, you're gonna get wrinkles. Talking about often reflecting internal emotional states of distress. A lot of times as Kenyans, I think, we frown a lot. We fold our forehead a lot, make those wrinkles, and maybe sometimes it's because you're squinting, you are unable to see, or you want to express what you're trying to say. It's like very serious. So imagine somebody that does that repeatedly, squinting or pursuing or pressing their lips in response to internal or external stimuli, and they're conveying discomfort, and this becomes their daily thing to do. Obviously, that would qualify as catatonia. So one of the other one that is famous is stupor. Stupor is a state of responsiveness, or you reduce responsiveness to external stimuli. So I'm imagining someone that might, appear dazed or unaware of their surroundings. You might try to even, touch them or hit them, and they are not responding to that stimuli. They don't show like they're engaged, even when you try to engage them, but they just look like they are very unresponsive. It doesn't matter what is going on around them. That is stupor. Okay, so mutism is, mutism refers to complete absence of speech. So people just decide they're not gonna talk, even though they are physically able or capable of speaking. They sit silently, they don't utter any word, even when they are being addressed or asked. And they're not doing that because they are angry or, they have nothing to say. They just go mute. So that is catatonia. Echolalia is going to involve repetitive words or phrases that, spoken by someone else. So how like the kids, babies like to say dada because they heard somebody say tada. They are repeating those words that are being spoken by their moms or their caregivers. So someone doing that, they're repeating everything you say, almost like a parrot. You would hate to have a parrot, in the house because I speak after you. They say everything that you say. So the person that is doing that is not understanding, it's not a joke, it's not funny, they just find themselves doing it. And that is what is being referred to as echolalia. Negativism involves resistance or opposition to attempts to be moved or directed. So there are people that just won't move, they won't listen to any directions, they are just going to, just assume that you didn't give them any directions or instructions. They resist all efforts to change their position. They refuse to follow simple commands like, just move a little bit. Somebody else needs to sit. Pass me that. They will not be. They are immovable. So they are just oppositional. So that would be what is termed as negativism. And I think that that's the end of some of the characteristics or some of the clusters or categories of catatonia. If somebody has any one of these, and of course, there are other ways, of course, elaborated ways of diagnosing somebody with catatonia. It's not just knowing that they have this. They have to go through the right procedure, assessment, and, evaluation. That really is what makes them be diagnosed. So if this happens, and if somebody that is impacted by this, there is treatment that is known for catatonia. There is the benzodiazepines and of course the electroconvulsive therapy that is used, to alleviate symptoms, and obviously not to treat, but just to slow down the symptoms or alleviate symptoms so they are not really impacting somebody's functionality every day. So thank you for listening. I got to cough because that's a natural response to when there's so much dust around you. So thank you for listening, and I hope that you like my video. If you have questions, please ask. If you subscribe, even better. If you share with somebody that needs to know this, these are just for mastering for an exam. Or if you're a therapist and, medical doctor that, just need to not really cram, but really understand this in a simple way so that, if you see a client, you can provide a provisional, just diagnosis before you do the full assessment. Or maybe you have an exam that you need to understand the diagnoses that are in DSM-5. I use DSM-5, the textbook revision. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.